who are going to be helping us to learn a little bit more about the world of dolphins. And joining them are the arena stars of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Helen. A round of applause for her, folks. Next up is the youngest of the three dolphins, and finally, this is Spinnaker, the only male of the three. Wow! Now, Helen and Spinnaker are going to be helping us to learn about how research has shaped the way that we look at the lives of dolphins. One thing, obviously, that a lot of you have noticed about them is that these dolphins have interesting colors across their body. They are not just any kind of dolphin. There are about a dozen different types found on the coast of British Columbia that we would need to tell them apart from. So I want you to look closely at the colors of their body and the shapes of them as well. These are not the bottlenose dolphins that are a little bit more famous, but another species called the Pacific white-sided dolphin. We can tell this from the hooked dorsal fins on their backs, and of course the beautiful swirls of dark and pale colors all through their bodies. Pacific white-sided dolphins are found right here on the coast of British Columbia, as far south as California, as far north as Alaska, and as far away as Japan's borders. They've got quite a range. And we're really lucky to be able to study them here because they're some of the world's most social and acrobatic dolphins. However, Pacific white-sided dolphins are also important to our researchers for another really big reason, and that is that they have been making appearances in the coastal waters of British Columbia much more frequently over the past few years. It was previously thought that all Pacific white-sided dolphins live far away from land in the open ocean where they're difficult to study, but researchers have been seeing more and more of them appearing close to where we spend our time. This gives us a great chance to take lots of photographs of the individuals so we can learn a little bit more about who they are. So I want you to have your cameras ready so we can look at the different bodies of these animals. You'll notice that there are some differences in the color patterns, the scratches across their bodies as well, and the shapes of their skins, especially, that you can use to tell them apart. You don't always get a perfect view of a dolphin's entire body in the ocean, however. Researchers have found a way to tell them apart using just one part that's often very visible, and that is the dorsal fin that is on the dolphin's back. No two dolphins have a dorsal fin that is exactly alike, and you'll notice that if you look closely, Helen's dorsal fin, which is closest to me, is quite curved and has about as much gray as white. Hannah's, who's the most triangular, has about as much gray as white, and it's kind of sharp-like shape, and Spinnaker, the male, has far more white on his dorsal fin than either of the two females. I'll be happy to review this information with you guys after the program as well if you want to know who's who. But now we have a general idea of who the stars of our show are. I think we need to think about what kinds of effects they could have if they are coming to the waters of British Columbia. Our trainers have been introducing some food to the animals, including delicious creatures like herring and squid, and clearly if Pacific white-sided dolphins are arriving on the coast of BC, they're going to be eating something. Inside their mouths are sharp teeth, between 80 and 120 of them. But what they've been eating so far, they don't seem to have used those teeth for very much. In fact, it looks like they've been swallowing their food whole. Does that mean, folks, that Pacific white-sided dolphins absolutely 100% always need to swallow their food whole, that they can't chew? What do you think? No, I don't think so either. Well, in fact, we're not really getting an answer from our dolphins. They can't really understand what I'm saying, but they are showing us when they shake their heads around what they could do with a really big fish, like say an adult salmon, which they are known to prey upon, tearing them apart with those individual teeth by shaking their heads around. Clearly, if British Columbia is seeing more Pacific white-sided dolphins, we are gaining a powerful predator. However, these dolphins have another role in the food chain as prey. Often, there are some larger creatures that will try to devour them, but these animals have a way of getting away using the colors of their body. I want you to look again at the patterns of the gray and white. You'll notice that predominantly our dolphins are dark on top and pale on the bottom. This is really helpful. It's a color strategy called counter-shading. You'll see on lots of animals here at the aquarium. A white belly will blend in with the bright white skies for any creatures swimming underneath it. And of course, those dark backs can help the dolphins to disappear, as they just have to any animals that are looking at them from up above. One animal that can sometimes see past this illusion is the world's largest dolphin, the orca, or killer whale. These animals have been known to try to kill some white-sided dolphins, but the smaller animals do have the edge when it comes to speed. As we're seeing, white-sided dolphins can actually travel about as quickly as you can drive here in Stanley Park. So that would mean that they would have no problem at all getting away from a big predator if they have enough warning. However, there is another animal, the shark, that has a big mouthful of shark teeth, and some sharks have been known to prey on these red-sided dolphins. If they get too close, the dolphins might not be able to outrun them, but they can certainly use their bodies in ways to encourage them to give them a little bit more space. Pacific white-sided dolphins, you see, are a double-sided threat. We are seeing from Spinnaker here the snout end of a dolphin, known as a rostrum, that can be used to target this volleyball in the water. And on the other ends of their bodies, we've had several demonstrations today of the powerful tail flips on the other side of their bodies, which can deliver a serious swipe to a shark in the neighborhood. However, the biggest threat to a Pacific white-sided dolphin is probably not a shark or a killer whale. In fact, the animals that are all around us right now, I am talking about human beings, as you probably guessed. People, you see, are sometimes not as good at using the ocean in ways that are safe for other animals as we like to think we are. And this is something that our three Pacific white-sided dolphins know firsthand. Helen, Hannah, and Spinnaker all used to live in the waters of Japan, where they became accidentally entangled in fishing nets that had been left behind. Because of their injuries and the time they spent recovering the care of humans, they are no longer able to live in the ocean. Taking a look at Helen's pectoral fin, this is showing them off for us right now, you'll notice that they had to be partially removed as a result of her injuries, and she had to relearn how to swim because of this. The amazing thing about these dolphins is that they are real survivors, and because they had the fortune to be rescued, they can now live healthy lives here at the Vancouver Aquarium and show people why it's so important that we look after our oceans and ensure that this doesn't happen as much in the future. We may not always be able to do much about the big fishing nets that have been left behind, but you can certainly make sure that you're not leaving any marine debris behind in our oceans by never leaving any garbage on the beaches that might be a potential choking hazard to these animals. As we're seeing more and more Pacific white-sided dolphins come to British Columbia, I am really glad that you can have a chance to meet these three amazing individuals and find out a bit more about what's going on in our oceans all the time. I want another big round of applause for Spinnaker! And for our two females, Helen and Hannah. These amazing animals have done a great job today, showing off just what a Pacific white-sided dolphin is. I'm certainly glad you get to know them and their stories a little bit more closely. You may want to get your cameras ready, as we do now have a beautiful view of all of our stars. So on behalf of myself, our marine mammal trainers, and Helen and Hannah and Spinnaker, I would really like to thank you all for coming out and joining us here at the Vancouver Aquarium on this lovely winter day. Remember, when you are coming to visit us and joining us on programs like these, you're helping not only to learn about dolphins, but to help to fund all of the research and conservation projects that are going on here at the aquarium. Less than half a dozen aquariums in North America actually look after members of this species, so we have a huge amount we can learn from having them do that. If any of you are itching to continue your research expedition by asking us some questions, feel free to come on over to the gated area to my right, and we would be happy to answer them for you. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll continue to have a great journey here at the Vancouver Aquarium. There's always lots more research to be done. Again, everybody.